you think, when we look at Egypt and the Egyptian individual, what do you think are his strengths and weaknesses?
As we all know, in Egypt, we are so lucky that we have such talented, competent and professional people. We have what we call human capital. The advantage of Egypt that this human capital either to be cost profit or cost centers, or profit centers. What's actually happening now that we do have cost centers rather profit centers. By cost center I mean that those people, we can get the best from them, we can train, qualify, doing some process into empowering them, and at the end we can get the best from them. And if we have just a quick bird's eye view on other countries, we will realize that they are utilizing their people. In Egypt, we have, I mean, a very strategic situation in the world. People are having the passion to learn. We are quick learner. I mean, so it is just the key word, utilization. It is utilization.
Yes, now Doctor, you mentioned a very important issue. Now it is known around the world, actually, not just in the Arab world, that Egyptian human capacity is very strong, and that they have patience and determination, and they can work for long hours and all that. Now with human resources that have so much potentials, they lack. Some people believe that they might lack the interest in doing certain things, or some people feel that they're not guided the right way in terms of doing what they feel they want to do or what they like the best. So how can you position people in the right place, or put them in the right place to give more and the maximum they have?
Great. I think you just mentioned it now, that we all have the will, but we don't have the way. If you don't have the way, it means nothing. Positioning those people or getting the best from them, we have to follow the scientific approach. I mean, instead of keep saying that we are so lucky, we are willing to do this, we need to understand the challenges around us. We need to do benchmarking with other countries, how they utilize their human assets. We need to think differently, because if we keep doing what we are doing, we'll keep getting what we are getting. I mean, we all know that we have such human talents, but the ways into getting them to the best performance, we need to have plan, we need to have vision, we need to have mission, and at the same time, just if we have a look in a country like Philippines, all the people are running after this country to get specialists from there or technicians, simply because they investing in their people and matching this investment with the global and international needs. I think in Egypt, we just need to think what others need in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of attitude, in terms of building capacities, and then enhancing the skills via well-disciplined programs. And if I may add in this respect, we always say, I have a lot of certificates, we have this and that, but we never say, I am perfect in that, I am mastering this. I mean, it's a matter of now rationalizing and doing standards. We should have standards for every single skill. And I think in Singapore, they have what we call skills council. If I claim I am a professional engineer, the word professional engineer, it means that I meet certain criteria. In Egypt, we need to have these standards, categorizing and segregation the people according to their skills, because we need to invest in skills.
Do you think that sort of way of thinking, of that line of thought, should start perhaps at school, at high school, perhaps starting to see what each student excels at, and then perhaps guiding them towards that field? Counseling, for example, like we have abroad, there's always a counselor that tells a student, no, you much excel in this field rather than that. Do you think that's lacking in private and government schools?
Very true, very true. Good beginnings lead to good ends. I think we need to plan this from the very beginning, and if we allocate classes for coaching, for mentoring, for creative thinking, for investing in skills, that will add a lot. And I have a good experience in this field. Every year, almost, though some of my family members, they are almost 12 years old, but they are traveling abroad, they are attending some classes in UK, in creative thinking, in coaching, in mentoring, and by that they are start thinking into what I have to do, how to utilize my skills. So it should be from the very beginning, and as to be an integral part of the curriculum at the school.
Yes, Doctor, when you mentioned the example of the Philippines, that also raised a very important question here. The fact that you have Egyptians who are specialized in certain fields and are wanted outside. For example, doctors are always on high demand in the Gulf region. You also have construction workers in different parts of the world and Africa. But the problem is that they're not benefiting their country, definitely on the long run. And that's because they are going to who is going to appreciate and value their potentials and pay that.
Yes.
And that is a problem here, because people are not being paid well, so in return they're not working with interest, they don't care, and the job turns into a monotonous routine. So don't you agree that if not just placing human resources, but the problem is restructuring, administratively speaking, organizations, say it governmental or private, to value the workers that are give? I mean, how can you fix that now as Egypt is in this new era?
Yes, I think this is a very good question, a very important one. If we're just having a bird's eye view or a holistic view on what's going on in some countries and why the Egyptians there are very successful and they are contribute to the economy and the progress, because from day one there is a system to do and not to do. From day one that you do what you love what you do, and you enjoy what you love. That's why you have your own motivation, your own themes, and there are challenges for this, and these challenges includes motivation, appreciation. It includes a lot. So this is one of the reasons. I mean, maybe in Egypt, maybe we lack this culture of motivational tools. Just the word. You are perfect. I mean, if we just having attention, small things, it counts a lot. I mean, it's first of all the motivation. Secondly, it is again in some countries they are newly introduced new concepts, and it is very easy to start on solid grounds rather than restructuring and re-engineering. This is also another reason. The third one, which is for me, I would say the key success factor, that all institutions around you speaking the same language. Of three of us are reading from the same musical sheet, of course we'll have the same destination, the same target. Having a vision for any organization and having a mission, it means that the T-boy, the CEO, the general manager, the director, the front line, the back office, all the people working for one destination. But if this destination not well defined and not well agreed upon by the stakeholders, this means that we are all working in isolated fields. So if I may summarize, having the vision, having the motivation, and having a system to evaluate your performance. We have what we call performance management or performance evaluation. There are criteria on what you are doing. If we take the European Union, they have a very well-known model. It's called EFQM. This is European Foundation for Quality Management. This model, it contains 9 criteria, and it is applied everywhere, whether you have small supermarket or a hospital, school, hotel, ministry, department, whatever you have. These 9 criteria is telling you, you as organization, what do you have, what you don't have, and what you have to do in order to reach this destination. So we lack model.
Right.
We lack the model.
Who then will create, do you believe, should create such a model? I mean, when we look at franchises that come from abroad, be it in hotels or be it in services, and then when we look at, let's say, government-owned organizations, we find that the people that are really well skilled go for the private sector, and the people that maybe aren't so skilled go for the public sector. And then we see this huge gap. We see the protests that we saw. unfair division of labor and again of wealth. How do you see that from a bird's eye view again that you were speaking of, this model, who is responsible for it and who should then apply it across the spectrum?
Lovely. The ownership for this model should be ministry, here in each Ministry of Manpower. Which is, it should have the ownership and then cascaded into governmental sector and private sector. If we have one destination, one-stop shopping for this model, digested. Saying about the ownership, are not responsible because we have what we call responsibility and accountability. For accountability of this model in terms of implementation, in terms of planning, in terms of enforceability, it should be the Ministry of Manpower, and I think they can do a lot. But in terms of responsibility, there should be some other sub-entities in private sector and in public sector. And in UK we have this model. In UK we have the Commission for Manpower. They are adopting this model and they are doing the assessment and evaluating each and single organization to what extent they are applying, and they have awards. They have winning every year. This is ranked #1 in performance. This is #2. This is in customer service. This culture of competition between organizations, whether private sector or public sector, will enhance the performance.
Also, sir, the culture of praise. I don't think that's very popular here, and I think people like to feel that they are appreciated or that their efforts are appreciated. Do you think if we introduce that culture of praise, because here I always feel that there is the culture of, well, he's just doing his job.
Yes.
This is what he's supposed to do. But when you're doing something wrong happens, you know, you're immediately, you know, given a grievance for it. Can introduce that, because again, people are very used to don't adopt very well to change and to new ideas.
Absolutely, you're right. Absolutely right. If we think that there is always a better way to do our job, I think we can manage. Because maybe one of the challenge, we may think that this is the best way. Did we see others? Did we do benchmarking for others? So I think if we just manage to, and also if we have some tolerance, I mean, if my performance is not up to your expectation, you can come and talk to me. You can give me guidance. There must be some counseling, coaching, mentoring, qualifying, training. And again, it is a vision, because this model that I have been talking about, this EFQM model, and also the other one, which is investing in people, there are criteria that we are all sharing and caring. I mean, it doesn't give any space for subjectivity. Objectivity is dominating everything.
Now, Doctor, let's move from internal competition to external competition, and let's talk about international models. Now, how do you think you can make this equation a balanced one, where we can take the example of Malaysia that had developed itself economically and very rapidly in 50, 60 years' time, and take the model of China with their large population and how they have turned every single minute of their daytime into business and work, and has also in a very short years turned into the world #1 economy, where there was at a time that nobody had imagined China would reach this stage. How can we take these two models and apply them on an equation that could help Egypt?
I totally share you that these models are very close to our experience here, and we can benefit a lot. Let us talk first about Malaysia. When the Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, started in 1981 until 2003, within 20 or 23 years, he did a complete shift. And I think most of us, we are fully aware of about what he did, and I have the pleasure and the honor actually to meet him 2 times. The first time in Bahrain during a conference in investing in people, and the second time it was in his office with a delegation from UAE. If we just summarize how they utilize the people, first of all, they did 5 things actually. First of all, they did benchmarking. Mahathir Mohamad, he managed to let all his people looking into the East, to Japan, what they are doing, their ethics of work, code of conduct, what they are doing. So they have a model they have to follow. This is #1. #2, he was and he is still an excellent communicator. He is always addressing the people. Yes, let us, even when